They formed battalions, not with rifles, but with rhythm. Drums pounded in the forests, spears gleamed in the sunlight, and the air trembled with chants older than empire. They struck German outposts, burned cotton fields, shattered bridges and tax offices, and for a time, they won. Welcome to Omar's Story Nook, where history gets spicy, legends get a remix, and imagination runs wild. Every tale you hear is a whisper of Omar, echoing across time, memory, and spirit. What if I told you that a war once began with water? Not a storm, not a flood, but sacred water Maji, drawn from a god, blessed by ancestors and believed to stop bullets. This water wasn't just for drinking, it was for rising, for reclaiming. It flowed through the veins of rebellion. It anointed warriors with courage, even if not with armor. It turned ordinary villagers into vessels of resistance. This is the story of German East Africa, in the shadow of colonial greed, where labor was stolen, dignity crushed, and cotton bled from skin, where the people cried to the land, and the land answered with the prophet. His name was King Jeketiel. He carried the words of the ancestors and a promise in a God. The Europeans called it madness. We call it memory. We call it myth made flesh. We call it the Maji Maji Rebellion. Because in this war, the water was sacred, the spears were spirits, and even as bodies fell, belief never did. Let the story begin. The year was 1905. The soil of Tanzania, then known as German East Africa, was rich, red, fertile. It had grown yam, cassava, millet, and memory for generations. But now it was bleeding. The Germans wanted cotton, not just a little. They demanded forced cotton farming from villages across the south. Fields were seized. Men were taken from their homes. Women left to starve with children clinging to dry breasts. Whips cracked louder than thunder, and the tax collectors came with guns. In this burning silence, a voice rose from the bush. Kinje Ketel Ngwale, a quiet man, a spirit medium, a listener of wind and water. He disappeared for days, then returned, eyes wide with vision. He told the people the ancestors had spoken. They were tired, they were angry, and they had given him a gift. Maji, sacred water mixed with millet, poured into a gourd sealed with rope and bark. He told the people, "This water is holy. Drink it, bathe in it. It will turn bullets into dust. No weapon shall prosper." And the people believed. They gathered in secret. Kikuyu, Ngoni, Zaramo, Matumbi, men and women alike lined up to sip from the gourd to smear the sacred paste on their foreheads. No one had guns, but they had oaths. They had Maji, and soon they had war. Word spread fast, faster than gunfire. From one village to the next, King Jeketil's Maji became legend. Drink it and you would be protected. Wear it and no German bullet could kill you. Stand with it and the ancestors would guide your blade. And so they rose. Farmers who had never held a weapon. Healers who turned roots into fire. Children who whispered coded prayers into the wind. They formed battalions, not with rifles, but with rhythm. Drums pounded in the forests. Spears gleamed in the sunlight, and the air trembled with chants older than empire. They struck German outposts, burned cotton fields, shattered bridges and tax offices, and for a time, they won. Even the colonial soldiers stumbled. "What kind of magic is this?" they whispered. Villagers marched unafraid toward machine guns, bare-chested, faces painted in ash and Maji, singing, weeping, refusing to fall. Until they did, because the bullets did not turn to dust. The first wave of warriors fell, soaked not in water but in blood. Still, more came. They believed. They had to. The rebellion became wildfire. One village burned, another rose. One regiment fell, three more stood. But belief, however powerful, could not stop Maxim guns. And the Germans? They brought reinforcements, tanks, cannons, ruthless generals. Still the people marched. Still they sang. Still they believed. Because the Maji had baptized more than bodies. It had baptized the movement. The Germans had seen rebellion before, but not like this. This wasn't politics. This was prophecy. And to crush it, they brought hell. Villages were razed. Entire populations wiped out. Wells were poisoned. Grain stores torched. Famine was no longer an accident. It was strategy. King Jaketil was captured early, dragged from his hideout, tried in silence, hanged without ceremony. His body was never returned. But something strange happened. Even in death, his name was chanted louder. Maji Maji, they said, not just water. Now, a movement, a prayer, a cry for vengeance. By 1907, the Germans had choked the land into submission. The rivers ran low, the earth cracked, and over 250,000 Africans were dead. Most didn't die from bullets. They died from hunger, from silence, from being forgotten. But the ancestors, they do not forget. In the forest of Songya, in the hills of Kilwa, the wind still mourns, still sings. King Jeketil's God may be gone, but its echo lingers in every branch. Today, King Jeketil is not a rebel. He is a symbol of spirit, of unity, of belief strong enough to stare down an empire. The magic could not stop the bullets, but it did something far greater. It united tribes once divided. It turned fear into fire. It reminded the people who they were and who they could be. In 1961, Tanzania gained its independence. No longer German East Africa, no longer a colony, a nation born of flame, soil, and sacred water. And today, in songs sung by school children, in dances performed during harvest, in whispered prayers poured over newborns, the Magi still flows. Some say King Jeketil's spirit walks the Uluguru mountains. Others say he rides the rivers. But all agree on this. When belief is poured into a people, they rise, and water, when blessed with memory, becomes prophecy. The Maji Maji Rebellion was not just a war, it was a baptism. It washed our people in truth and left their spirits burning. King Jeketil was killed, but his voice survived in clay, in blood, in water. Because when spirit meets empire, one must break. And though the rebellion was crushed, it did not end. It lives in memory, in rivers, in resistance. This isn't just a story, this is Omar's story Nook, where truth whispers between the lines and legacy refuses to fade. Until the next whisper of Omar, stay listening. The Maji Maji Rebellion. When spirit took on empire and water refused to die.